Hi, I'm BJ Posnecki. In this video, I'm going to show you guys how to replace the fill valve in your toilet. First thing we're going to do is turn off the water. We're going to flush the toilet so that all the water drains out of the tank. Take the lid off. Put it somewhere safe where it doesn't break. Next, we're going to disconnect right here the nut for the supply line connecting to the fill valve. We're going to loosen this nut right here. To loosen these, you can usually do them by hand, but you may need a channel locks just to kind of break them loose. After you disconnect your supply line, we're going to go ahead and we're going to loosen up this nut right here that's on the bottom of the fill valve. What I've found best when you're undoing this nut is with my other hand, I hold the top of the fill valve down because there's a rubber gasket on there. And so I hold it down just so that the water doesn't leak out so I can get prepared. And then once I get that nut off, now we're gonna go ahead and if you have a cup or a bowl or something to put underneath right in this area, do it, or just put a towel like I did. And then go ahead and when you pull this out, just be prepared that there's water that's going to come out. We got our fill valve out. So now what's best is to actually, and this one's very similar to the new one we're putting in, but what we want to do is, as you'll see here, these are adjustable. You can slide this nut up here and make this bottom rod that goes up into the housing here. You can extend this. Which I'll go over in a second. But ideally, you want to try to make them close to the length as possible. So our new one is maybe, I don't know, about 3/4 to an inch shorter. So what I'm going to do is we're going to slide this nut up here. Oops. And then I'm just going to kind of eyeball this and bring it out a little bit here, because we can also adjust right here by spinning this top. It's going to raise and lower the float here. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball this. It's pretty close. Go ahead and slide the nut back down here. Make sure this rubber washer is all the way up underneath this flange. In the bag, we've got a nut and we've got a fill tube mounting bracket. We're gonna grab this nut, insert our fill valve, put our nut on. When you install the fill valve, we want to get it so that the float adjustments over this way towards our flush valve. And then right here, we're going to put a little tube here coming into the flush valve as well. So we want to make sure that this nozzle right here is not too close to the back wall here. So this is the ideal position. When tightening this nut, just do it by hand. Don't go using a channel locks because it's very easy. Everything is plastic to strip it out if you go tightening it down too much with a tool. We're going to reattach our supply line to the fill valve. Same thing with the supply line. Just hand tighten this nut because everything is plastic and we don't want to strip it out. I would tighten up this nut just in case if we moved this supply line a little bit, that we don't get a leak here. So just to play it safe, let's go ahead and tighten this up too. Our new fill valve comes with this overflow tube bracket. So when you have one of these old brackets on the flush valve like this, we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna remove this one, and we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna use this new bracket with our tube. Push our tube onto the nozzle here on the fill valve. Take our bracket and put it on with this nozzle and this port inside this tube. As you can see, this tube is very long, so we're gonna kind of just bend it into place and kind of get an idea of how long it is, and then we're gonna make a mark and we're gonna cut it to size. When you cut this, you can use a scissors or a razor knife, and then we're just gonna put the tube onto this hose bar. When you install this bracket, make sure it's not close to the handle so that this way the handle and the tube don't interfere. Turn the water back on. We got a line here. We want to make sure that the water level is below the top of this flush valve, otherwise it's just gonna keep to recycle. So we're gonna just let it fill up and see where it's at, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna make adjustments right here by raising. When you turn this to the left or the right, it's going to raise or lower the float switch. As you can see, the water's coming over the top here, so we're still too high. So I'm going to go ahead and lower our float switch so that this way the water's below that. I'm going to take it all the way down here. And then I'm going to flush the toilet to remove some water and see how it fills up again. Just making sure that we're below the top. That's pretty good. In case this happens to you, sometimes when you open and close these valves, right, they haven't been used in a while. Sometimes you can get a little bit of a leak like I did here out of this valve stem nut. So usually what'll fix that is just tightening this nut up too. So when you tighten up the supply line nut, give this a little bit of a tighten too, just to make sure that it doesn't leak. Now, sometimes it could leak just when you're opening and closing it. So when it gets to that full open or close position, it's fine. But you may experience this. So just give it a little, just try tightening this nut up right here. Once you've finished hooking everything up, just double check one more time. Make sure nothing is leaking. Check all of our connections around the toilet, the tank to the bowl, the toilet to the floor. Flush the toilet a handful of times. Make sure the water level is where it should be. And you're all done. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe. And we'll see you in the next one.